Hello, everyone, and welcome to Paranormal Minstrels on the Gauntlet calendar. My name is Mike, and I will be your GM this evening. Paranormal Minstrels is a game that appeared in the pages of Codex Bone back in 2019. It's a pretty simple and straightforward. It's a fairly simple game in which the players are Victorian ghost hunters, but you use music to hunt ghosts. The characters hire themselves out to generally wealthy landowners to figure out what's going on with these darn ghosts in their house, and to jolly well do something about it. A little bit about myself. My name's Mike Ferdinando. I hail from Ithaca, New York. I've been playing role-playing games for a long time. Started back in the 80s, a lot of D&D in the 80s, a lot of GURPS in the 90s, a lot of D&D 3rd edition in the aughts, a lot of Pathfinder in the teens, and then I kind of jumped into the deep end of Powered by the Apocalypse and Indian story games about 2015. And that's mostly what I play ever since. I joined the Gauntlet in 2019 and started GMing extensively, was it last spring or the spring before? Yeah, spring of 2020, I started GMing pretty extensively on the Gauntlet. Really enjoy this community. I think it's a lot of fun. Got a lot of really, really cool people here. Getting a little bit ahead of myself, how I'd like to structure this evening. So first of all, I've already introduced myself. We'll go around and ask our players to introduce themselves. If you've got anything to plug, please feel free. Say a little bit about yourself, your experience with role-playing games, and your experiences with the Gauntlet. After that, we'll have a quick CATS discussion about this game. Then we'll go over safety tools. Then we'll do character creation and a basic overview of the rules. We'll take a break then, and then we'll start play. Any questions before we get started? Way cool. So I've already introduced myself. Why don't we go clockwise around how I have you on my gallery view here? So, Michael, would you say a few words about yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Michael. My pronouns are he, him. I've been playing role-playing games for about 10 years, and I've been with the Gauntlet for about 6 months. So far with the Gauntlet, I've only run a couple of things. Just over the last couple of months, I did a few sessions of Mothership and a few sessions of Lady Blackbird. But yeah, as Mike said, it's a great community. I'm actually going to be hopefully putting something that I'm writing on the calendar for playtesting sometime next month, which I'm really excited about.
Very cool. I unleashed a game that I'm writing that was in playtest back in January. Elizabeth was one of my players, and it went pretty well. I got some good feedback, and going to make some changes for the next iteration. Probably now that the game The Between has come out, there's a lot of tech in that I want to pull into my 1940s hard-boiled detective game.
Nice.
So that's I'm working on an extensive rewrite. But anyway, Adam, would you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Adam. He, him. I've played RPG games for decades now. Also GM'd a lot, but I've been a member of the Gauntlet for similar to Michael, about 6 months. But I haven't been as active as I would wish to be because of some work and life scheduling problems. I had to take a few months break from the Gauntlet back in the spring, and now I'm trying to get back in the mix of things, and I have nothing to plug.
Well, welcome, Adam. We're really glad you could join us tonight. Elizabeth, would you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Hi, my name is Elizabeth. I've been I played role-playing games a while back, took a long break, and came back to role-playing because I played in a one-shot of Brindlewood Bay and was very... fell in love with the game and wanted to play more, and that's how I found the Gauntlet, and I've been a member since late 2020, and one of the first games I ever played in was with Adam, and nice to see a familiar face, and of course Mike in the playtest earlier.
It was actually my first game on the Gauntlet.
Oh! Well, we were new together, and here we are as experienced players together again.
And we had the good fortune of having Bethany be our the person who introduced us to the Gauntlet, basically.
Yes, she's a great ambassador, and that game had a witchy component to it, as does this one, and I'm looking forward to playing. And I wore my puffy shirt in honor of the Victorian setting.
Fantastic. Yeah, Bethany was a player in my first Gauntlet game, and they are just one of the most fantastic people to play against. I just love playing. Anyway, so Paranormal Minstrels. Let's do the elevator pitch, the cat's discussion. So that's concept, aim, tone, and subject matter. So the concept of this game is the player characters are Victorian era ghost hunters who use the power of music to combat supernatural entities. The player characters are members of this society called the Resonant, and they are a society of musical ghost hunters. So the aim of this game, we want to tell a good story, good and interesting and fun story about unconventional ghost hunting. Again, set in the 1890s. The tone of this game, I would like, just reading the game, it just reminded me of like an episode of Doctor Who. So that's kind of like what I want to shoot for. Pseudo-historical action horror comedy. I'd say we're probably going for like a PG-13 rating. I don't think I don't really want to show anything they can't really show on network television. We'll have elements of horror. We'll probably have elements of tragedy in this. As I move on to subject matter without introducing it. So we will have themes including haunting, evil spirits, facing one's own dark past, perhaps. And again, going for like a PG-13. So probably not going to get too heavy, but we'll touch upon the darkness, but we're not going to revel in it. Also, in my pitch for this game, I called it a Powered by the Apocalypse game. Now that I've gone back and reread the rules a little more closely, it isn't really PBTA. It's kind of somewhere between. It's kind of like it's an indie story game with unique mechanics. One of the unique mechanics is this is the first game I've ever encountered that only uses D12s. The author said that is because there are 12 notes in the chromatic scale, which I thought was kind of cool. Okay, any questions about cats before we move on? Okay, next I'd like to talk about safety tools. Does everyone have the character key? And if you can, click over to the Safety and Resources tab. So a note about safety at the role-playing game table. We're a bunch of strangers or near strangers who are getting together to play a game over the internet, and the purpose of this is to have fun. However, each of us individually is more important than this game. Role-playing games playing a role-playing game is an inherently unsafe activity emotionally. We're going to be looking through the eyes of another character, putting some of ourselves into that character, moving them around through an imaginary world is dangerous. My life experiences are different from each of your experiences, and what might be absolutely fine for subjects that might be absolutely fine for you, I might have a problem with, because we all have different life experiences. Safety tools are a way we can kind of put some bounds around our story. Maybe try to put flags in any known landmines so that we can avoid stepping on them. And in case we do get into trouble, we've got tools that will hopefully pull us out of the danger so we can reassess and move forward to keep having fun. So the purpose of safety tools is to prevent. It's to help us prevent. It's to help us have fun and to help prevent us from going into places where some of us may not want to go. So in this flight, we're going to be playing with 3 different safety tools. The first one I like to talk about is called Open Door. This is a safety tool that is about our individual, personal, physical comfort. And it's pretty simple. Open Door means we're all free to come and go as we please to this game. Anyone can leave at any time. Anyone can call a break at any time. If you decide that we get into this game and you decide that, this game just isn't for me and you want to resign, that's absolutely fine. Wish you the best. Go on with your evening. hope we can play something more to your liking again in the future. That's Open Door. Since we're talking a little bit about breaks, I am planning to do planned breaks at the top of every hour. So probably a 5-minute break at an hour in, maybe probably a 10-minute break 2 hours in. This game is scheduled to go 3 hours. Any questions about Open Door? Okay, hearing none. The next tool that we're going to be using is called Lines and Veils. And Lines and Veils is a proactive safety tool. This is a tool that we can mark specific areas or subject matters that we may have, that we may find problematic and just don't want to deal with in a game. A line is a subject. If a subject is lined, that means it is not going to appear in the game. I won't introduce it. You other players won't introduce it. If it was supposed to be, if I was running a prepared module, and it was in there, I'd cut it out, substitute it with something else. So just, a line is just, we're just not going to go there. A veil is, if something is under a veil, we can acknowledge that it happens in the world. We may find signs that it has happened. You may find, someone may mention that it has happened, but it's not going to appear on camera. It will certainly not happen to any of the player characters. One other column that I've added to, so anyway, on our safety and resources tab, I've got a number of common subject matters that many people prefer to line or veil. I have a third column on this, which is ask first, and that's one of those that means it's a subject matter that you might be okay with in some circumstances, but might not be in others. So if we were going to introduce that subject and ask first, we'll pause the game and have a little chat to discuss the parameters around which we'll introduce that subject. So I'm going to pause the recording and give everyone a chance to go over this list. Check mark anything that you want to line or veil or ask first. And if you want to upgrade something, that's absolutely fine. And if anyone has any questions, we'll answer those while the recording is paused. And I'm pausing now. And we're back. We have our lines and veils. The third safety tool that we're going to be using is called the X card. This is a reactive safety tool that we use when we're encountering something in the moment. So invoking the X card, you can say the phrase X card. You can just say, hey, folks, we need to pause here. That totally works. We're on. This recording is audio, but we are on video. So if you want to make the X card gesture, that will get our attention. When you invoke the X card, you will. If anything in the game is making you uncomfortable, that's the time to invoke the X card. It can be something within the game. So if another player has introduced a plot element that you aren't comfortable with, if your characters are interacting in a way that you aren't comfortable with, invoke the X card. If I've introduced an NPC whose name you find objectionable, maybe it was the bully that used to beat you up when you were in 3rd grade, and you hate that name, X card it. This character doesn't exist, and their name is just and their name is just some ink on paper. We'll change it. Other things to do with other things that can happen that you might want to X card if they're making you uncomfortable. The things that aren't happening in the game itself, but are interplayer. For example, if someone is talking over you, please invoke the X card. We'll have a discussion. Someone's consistently getting your name wrong, or is introducing is trying to police how you're playing your character, X card it. If you notice you think someone else may be having difficult, X card. We'll have a discussion. It's one of the reasons I like to play on video, is so that I can keep track of people's facial expressions, because sometimes you can tell if someone gives you an odd look. That might be a subtle sign that maybe we need to pause. One other thing I do want to mention, I try really, really, really hard not to violate lines or veils. I consider them sacrosanct. However, we're all human, and sometimes in our eagerness to introduce something that you think is cool, you might take your eye off the lines and veils and introduce something that was lined or veiled. If that happens, please, the first person who notices, please immediately X card. I try really, 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 really hard to keep these, absolute, but to honor them. Every once in a while, we make a mistake. I just want to mention this because we are all human, and everyone sometimes makes a good faith mistake. So if that does happen, we'll X card it. We'll we'll have a chat. We'll move. Any questions about the X card or Lines and Veils or Open Door? Awesome. One other thing I do like to mention, this isn't exactly a safety thing, but this is where I want to say it. In the event that my image freezes and the image freezes, or my connection drops, or I look very concerned off camera, take off my headset and walk off camera, and I don't come back for 10 minutes, assume something has happened and that the game is over, and take the rest of your day or evening. Doesn't happen very often, but it has actually happened. There's one time a couple of years ago when I suddenly where I had a power failure and I lost my internet connection in the middle of a game. So yeah, if it's so if I disappear and I'm not back within 10 minutes, consider the game over and take the rest of your day back. Okay, this concludes our safety tools discussion. Let's get into, I guess it's time to get into character creation. So Paranormal Minstrels is a game where you are ghost hunting musicians, and you are using an enchanted musical instrument of some sort to communicate with or use magical power over ghosts or other supernatural entities. So part of this is so there are 4 playbooks. We have the Exorcist, the Medium, the Occultist, and the Psychic. Each has a focus on how they interact with the supernatural. For example, the Exorcist is the Exorcist focuses on removing the supernatural by banishing them somehow. Whereas the medium the medium's shtick is they can communicate with the supernatural. The occultist knows stuff about the supernatural, and the psychic can detect the supernatural. So we're going to be using all of these. So the way the adventure is going to work is you're going to, you will have been called to, some rich person somewhere will have contacted the resident to say that they have a haunting or something supernatural going on, and they want the resident to send a team to take care of it, and you're the team that shows up. So basically, we're going to start play where you're kind of showing up at the front door of some rich person's house or home or place of business, and we'll take it from there. Most of the game is just going to be pretty much stock standard free open role play. The mechanics for your character are mostly about your instrument and a little bit about your background. And your background is going to mostly come up in play. We don't necessarily need into that too closely, but we do need to figure out your instrument. So for your instrument, there's a selection of 12. If you want to roll on it, if you want to roll on the D12 table to pick 2, or if you want to just look at the list and pick something that you think is cool, your instrument has a timbre, and the timbre means so when you wish to use your magical musical instrument, you'll roll a D12, and you want the D12 to show up a number in the range of your instrument's timbre. Basically, it's a 1 in 4 chance because everyone's range covers 25%, which kind of making me a little dubious about these dice mechanics, but I want to play this game rules as written. And the game does say that the Paranormal Minstrels, their music generally sounds terrible until it doesn't. On a given round, if 2 players or 2 characters succeed on their roll, they are in harmony with each other, in which case that basically gives you an advantage mechanic. When you are in harmony with another paranormal minstrel, you can roll 2 d12 and pick pick the result that you choose. Your instrument is powered by enchanted bones that are integrated into your instrument in some way. So another thing that you will want to choose is the origin of the enchanted bones in your instrument. There's 4 choices there, and the origin of your bones, of your instrument's bones, gives your instrument like basically a particular extra power. Finally, you can tell us how these bones are integrated into your instrument, and also just generally what your instrument looks like. That's going to be the instrument's appearance. So I've got some logic in here. So a lot of these are where it says select, that's a drop-down menu. Where it says autofill in the character creator, in the character keeper, that means depending on what you select, it's going to autofill some data from a hidden data sheet. And where it says details, that's just a prompt that you can just like click in there, erase that, and just go ahead and free type. Everything should have text wrapping on. So what you need to select is what kind of instrument you've got, where the bones of your instrument came from, what your instrument looks like, and finally, what price did your character pay to become a member of the Resonant? And again, there's 4 prompts there. If you've got an idea and it doesn't really match one of those prompts, that's fine. We'll figure it out. At what price do you pay? That one doesn't really have that one doesn't seem to have mechanical input, whereas the others do. So do anyone have, does a playbook call, do any playbooks call to anybody? Anyone want to make a claim?
I'm interested in either the medium or the psychic.
I'm interested in any of them. How about you, Adam? Are you feeling pulled towards one?
I was thinking psychic or exorcist, maybe. So I could take the exorcist if it's okay.
Yeah, that definitely works. Elizabeth, psychic or medium?
I think I'll go for the medium.
All right. I think I will take the occultist then.
So we have a medium, an exorcist, and an occultist. I'm going to hide the psychic playbook. Okay, so folks want to go ahead and fill that in. That portrait URL is, if you find a picture on the internet, you can just like copy the URL of the image, paste it in that box, and it'll grab that image and put a centered version in the box. If you want to. Some people like to do that. Some people don't really bother. And if you want to roll on tables, the link to the dice roller is there. One thing about the roll dice with friends, when you go to that, the first time you go in there, it's going to say name and it's going to fill in Dallas Dice Roller. Please remove that and put in either your name, or if you figured out your character's name, put your character. And while the game said that it takes place in Victorian times, but it didn't say where, I'm just going to assume we're in England somewhere. Once you've selected the origin of your instrument's enchanted bones, if you'd like to, take a moment to figure out, what specific aquatic animal, or who was the noteworthy person, or who was the family member whose bones are incorporated into this instrument. And under instrument's appearance, that tells you how the bones are integrated in. That one doesn't really have a mechanical effect. It's just kind of cool. Once we figured that out, I'll talk a little bit about how injury works in the game. And apologies to anyone who is listening to this as a podcast for the dead air. Anyone have any questions while we're on character creation while making their choices?
So I have a question. Are we talking literal bones, or does this stand for something?
The way I read the game was these were literal bones of an animal that are somehow incorporated into your instrument, and either the bones themselves or some kind of magical ritual was done that has imbued your instrument with some kind of supernatural spirit from the bones, from the entity.
Mm-hmm.
It's really it seems to be pretty literal when it comes to the game mechanics, but other than that, we can interpret that as we see fit, unless you've got an idea on how this could be metaphorical that you think would be cool. I'm 100% on board with that if you'd like to go that way.
No, I'm into the idea of instruments made of actual bones. I like it. I just wanted to make sure.
While folks are still deciding, I'm going to talk a little bit about the game mechanics of encountering the ghost. So basically, I have a map of a kind of fancy mansion that I pulled out of an old D&D module that I'm kind of going to be using as a guide, just because, in case we need some idea of a floor plan. I'm not really going to put it up or anything. So yeah, you'll be moving through the house, basically trying to find out where is the spirit. You'll need to find the spirit. You'll need to communicate with the spirit to figure out what it wants. And ultimately, either appease the spirit or do battle with the spirit. And to do battle with the spirit, there's a bit of a combat system. Spirits have an essence that's basically their hit points. And every time you attempt to banish it and you're successful, it's going to drive off some of its energy. However, on when characters roll misses against an entity, when you're trying to do something like that, I keep track of how many misses, how many attempts to do something against the entity and don't work. Once it hits a certain threshold, it's going to do something to you. One of those possibilities, and those, depending on what it's going to do, would be called either a consequence or an injury. A consequence will be something that has fictional positioning, so it would be something like frightened or rooted in place, or something that seems appropriate. Whereas injured is, if the thing went all poltergeist on you and you're like, picked up a priceless Ming vase, flung it at you, and it hit you in the face, shattering, that would hurt. If you are injured, your rolls are then at disadvantage, which in this game mechanic means it's going to be pretty hard to actually succeed. If you are injured a second time, your character is taken out of at least the scene and perhaps worse, depending on what the fictional circumstance. Consequences may impose disadvantage on specific actions, whereas an injury imposes disadvantage like globally until we have time to, until we take some time in game to treat your injury or take care of whatever condition has been imposed on you. For example, if you were trying to track down a fae, a creature of some sort, it could try to enchant you or entice you with something, or sky's the limit. This is a story game after all. Are folks still making choices, or are we still working? Okay, that is absolutely.
The dice mechanic in this does seem pretty brutal. It'll be interesting to see how it goes.
It really does. I only realized that when I was putting together I only really came to that conclusion when I was putting together the rules overview tab and was just kind of copying rules over. Yeah, it's basically your character. You basically only have a 25% chance of success, and it's basically up to the GM to figure out like what a miss means.
It seems like it gets theoretically a lot easier once you actually get into harmony.
Exactly. Then your odds double to a 50% chance, or more or less. I think that's 25% chance on 20. Anyway, I'd have to crunch the numbers, but your odds increase dramatically. And I just realized I want to download the rules onto a different device so I can look at it on yet another screen. So I'm looking at the time, and folks are still figuring things out. Why don't we do this? Why don't I pause the recording, and I'll resume right on, the hour. So folks that are done, if they want to take a break until then, if folks are still working on it, you can take some time to finish things up, and then we'll come back right on the hour and we'll start playing. Sound good? Okay. I am pausing the recording, and we'll be back in about 8 minutes, and we're back. So it looks like we have a cast of characters. Why don't we go around and introduce our characters? So why don't you tell us character's name, a little bit about character's name, first impressions of the character, and what they're and like a little bit about their instrument. Let's go counterclockwise on gallery view. So Elizabeth, would you mind going first?
Sure, I'll go first. I am playing Pelagia Morwin. She was introduced to music by her parents, who provided her with a music tutor who introduced her to various instruments. She felt the most drawn to the French horn, and instead of playing the classic songs, she started playing darker, more gothic music, and through her instrument, she was able to hear voices that she later learned were spirits communicating with her and communing with her. Her family, of course, was very distressed by her claims that she could speak to the other side or to spirits or creatures that they couldn't see, and she became obsessed with it. They threw her out of the house, and that's how she made her way to find the resonance. Well, this group, and she is a young woman, and her instrument is the French horn, and in the French horn, it contains the clavicle of a famous psychic, Madame Gloria. How she came into possession of this bone is a matter she'd prefer not to.
Fantastic. Pelagia? Pelagia. Nice. I'm really looking forward to finding out more about her story. Adam, would you tell us about your character?
I'm playing Percival Prescott. He's a young man, rather dashing, I would say. I think he was a rising star at the Royal Academy of Music in London, where he was studying to become a concert pianist, and he was quite talented at that. But one day he received a mysterious letter from his estranged uncle, his uncle Fergus, who was considered the black sheep of the family, and who no one has seen him or heard from him in decades, and no one knew what misfortunes Fergus had gotten himself into. And the letter, a lengthy 100-page letter, who knows, came with an additional package, and it turned out that the package was a very spooky looking instrument. It was in fact an ocarina, which was made entirely of a skull, and the skull might be animal in origin. It might actually be human. I think Percival does not like to think too much about it, and does not like to look too much into it, because from a certain angle, in certain lighting, it kind of looks like a human skull. There's distinct. You can distinctly see the teeth, the eye sockets, and there's some additional holes drilled into the bone, so as to make it a functional instrument. The letter that was that accompanied the instrument detailed the estranged uncle's journey and his discoveries into the world of the esoteric, and it also included a revelation that this power to combat forces of the supernatural is hereditary. And in fact, the uncle's studies had led him to believe that Percival might be the one to inherit those abilities. Percival hid the letter and the instrument somewhere underneath the bed, in the how do you say, dormitory at the academy, and tried to forget about this weird incident until, as fate would have it, an actual ghost attacked the premises and started wreaking havoc on the students and the faculty members. And then that's when Percival heard the calling, felt the calling inside, and he retrieved the instrument and, guided by pure instinct, started playing it, and in fact was able to, with enormous effort, of course, he was able to remove the ghost, banish it from the academy, for which, of course, he was met not with gratitude but with expulsion from the school. Since that day, he has tried to locate other people like him who might have some knowledge about these matters, and tried to make another career for himself as a paranormal investigator / eradicator.
Fantastic. That's a great backstory. I love it, and
Thank you.
I'm imagining playing a creepy ocarina made of bone, made out of a skull. That's super creepy. I love it. Michael, would you tell us about your character?
Why, yes. I'll be playing as Gabriel Wareham, who is both is on the older side. I'm thinking like late 40s, and unlike the rest of our characters, doesn't have much of a musical background. For him, it started more in the books and pursuit of knowledge. So I'm imagining that he was, like a librarian or had like a used bookstore or something, and ended up coming across this ancient occult book, and through flipping through it, got really interested in it, started looking for other books like it, and it was in one of those that he came across the instructions on how to build and enchant what has become his whalebone violin. Continuing with that, everything that he's doing now is more to continue pursuit of knowledge. So learn more about the spirits and where they come from and how they work and all of that kind of stuff.
Fantastic. Looks like Elizabeth had some more computer troubles and dropped, so I'm going to give her a couple of minutes. Her a couple of minutes to rejoin I'm going to pause the recording until she's back. Okay, we're back. One of our players is having tech issues. I hope she's going to be able to join us, but given time, I think we're actually going to start playing, and if she's able to rejoin us, we'll bring her up to speed. So, and I think just for the sake of completeness, I'm really, I think I'll basically just kind of have her character there, but as a GM, I'll probably have her like go off and do something because she's in the waiting room again. Trying it again.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Hey, she's back.
Hi.
Welcome.
Difficulty.
Oh,
Yeah.
like I was saying, I'm wearing an IT support like T-shirt or polo shirt that my employer gave me. So if computers worked correctly all the time, I would be out of a job. So
I need to hire you for some personal consulting.
yeah, Zoom gets wonky from time to time, and if your bandwidth goes down, if your bandwidth really like goes down, depending on the level of your internet connection, Zoom can get Zoom can just drop you for like little to no reason. Anyway, glad you're back. We were just getting started. So the three of you are in a horse-drawn carriage that is approaching the Hilbert estate, and the image of the English manor house behind me is probably a more or less accurate representation of what the Hilbert estate would be. It is probably built in the. I mean, it's not that old. It was probably built in the late 16, early 1700s. So, it's only about 150 years old. So that's not that old. But it is the year 1890. Your carriage approaches, and waiting on the front steps to greet you is a man in a tweed. He's the groundskeeper. You take one look at him and you know he's the groundskeeper. He's dressed in tweed. He's got that. He's got like a huntsman's cap on. He's got a bit of a he's wearing a cravat, but he's dressed like a lord's groundskeeper and perhaps game warden. And and he meets you at the front steps. So he looks you up and down with a very skeptical look on his face. So you lot are those musicians from that resonant people, That who you be?
We certainly are.
Well, he just kind of shakes his head. Well, I guess I should show you in.
Is the butler off today?
Well, Lord Hilbert asked me to show you. So Lord Hilbert asked me to show you around the exterior a little bit, just in case. So just a little bit about the scene. So the carriage was coming up this, this kind of long driveway that was going through. It went through an area that was partially wooded. It then exits the woods across this kind of like vast lawn that's in front of the estate. There was an iron gate. There was an iron fence with a heavy gate that surrounded the property. And in front of near where the carriage pulls up, there's a large fountain. There's a feminine figure who's like holding a jug, and water is pouring out of the jug into a circular fountain. One thing you do notice is around the side of the house, there's a large oak tree. It seems to have like an older like a large bench swing, but the swing is broken. Looks like the branch. Looking up, it looks like the branch is partially cracked, and one of the chains that was holding it up seems to actually have snapped. And and the groundskeeper just shakes his head and says, "Strange things been going around here. Strange things."
How long has it been going on for?
Started not long after Lord Hilbert returned from his trip, a fortnight ago. It's been about first started seeing the strangeness. I'd say week and a half ago.
Where did Lord Hilbert go?
Oh, came back from safari in Africa.
Did he bring back any particular artifacts or souvenirs?
Oh, well, he's not as good. He looks around to make sure there's no one, to make sure that no one other than you are in earshot. He's not as good a shot as he thinks he is. Came back with a few trophies. They're hanging in the trophy hall, of course.
We would like to have a look at these, if that's okay.
And maybe we'll play a tune for the trophy to honor their ascent in such a fine hall.
So he takes you around the. So first he takes you gives you a brief tour of the grounds, just so that you're familiar with what's around here. So there are formal gardens. There's the obligatory. There's the obligatory hedge maze, although this one's not one they could easily get lost in because the hedges are only about 4 feet tall. And the hedges are not super dense. So if you got really annoyed with this maze, you could presumably just kind of walk through the hedges. You might get scratched a bit. There's a pond with some ornamental fish in it. There is this tree with a broken swing. It's your formal English gardens of a rich lesser nobleman.
Did the groundskeeper give us
Stibbins? Name Stibbins.
Mr. Stibbins, what happened here with this swing? I hope no dear children were hurt while playing on it.
Well, no one was hurt. Scared, perhaps, but not exactly hurt. And it wasn't children. It was Lady Hilbert was swinging on it not long after sunset, 4 or 5 days ago. 4 days? 5 days? It was this incident that caused Lord Hilbert to want to contact you. Yes, it was just after sunset. She was enjoying the beautiful orange skies, and that's when she says she heard something weeping, said things in a language she didn't understand, and then suddenly all hell broke loose. Things got thrown about. The branch started shaking violently, and ultimately it cracked. She ran inside, nearly inconsolable for a few days.
Did nothing happen inside the house? The events were only occurring in the on outside of the house, in the grounds.
Well, I've heard of a few things, but that you'll probably wish to talk to Lord Hilbert with.
How long have you been with the Hilberts, Stibbins?
37 years.
And
Never
do
seen
you
anything like
remember?
this before.
Exactly.
No, first time. No, this is very, very strange. You've heard tales of the little people, but I've never seen evidence of them before.
Little people living in the grounds?
Aye, the elves. Has to be the elves.
Have you noticed anything missing from the grounds?
Not that I have noticed. Not really noticed anything missing. Seen a few things out of place. A couple of smaller statues that have been knocked over.
On the day of the incident, did you hear any weeping, Stevens?
No, when that happened, when that whole incident happened, I was in my cottage. I heard her screaming, and I did hear her screaming, and I came out to investigate. But by the time I got here, she'd already run inside.
And there was no one else in the garden beside the lady?
Not that I know of.
Well, is Lady Hilbert at home presently?
She is. She's been quiet. But again, no. But again, we don't. I mostly live in the cottage and take care of the grounds. I will occasionally join the Hilberts for dinner if invited. Mostly I eat with the other staff.
Maybe we should take a look at the swing before we go inside. I look over my colleagues, and I think we exchange knowing looks. We all know what has to be done.
Gotta find the elves.
Yeah, Stevens, if you could give us just a minute to take a look at the tree in question, we would be obliged.
All right. I'll leave you to your business. I'll go inside and tell Lord Hilbert that you are that you have indeed arrived.
Yes, do that, and we will be there shortly.
Okay, and Hilbert goes off and enters. He enters the manor through a side door. What are you doing?
By the way, what's the time of day right now?
Right now, I'm going to say it's probably mid-afternoon. You probably got the call in the morning, and it took you several hours to arrange transport and to get out here.
Okay,
that's a good question. It'd be interesting to hear about whether the events that have happened have all been around the same time.
And do we know anything about the Hilberts in general? Are they renowned?
That's a good question.
Reputable.
I think we need a roll for anything here. I'm just going to say they don't have that. I'm just going to say that Lord Hilbert. He's a lord. I think he's probably lesser nobility. He's probably an earl. He's certainly not a duke. He's not a count. He's not a viscount. He's probably an earl. So as that, doesn't have a whole lot of power. I mean, it's the 1890s, so Britain is, Britain's very much more or less the constitutional monarchy that it is. The aristocrats had more power than they do today, but they still don't have tons and tons of power. And Lord Hilbert is, he lives far enough from London that he doesn't show up for the House of Lords very often. He's kind of a he's a dilettante. I'm going to say Lord Hilbert. He likes to travel, and he's a dilettante. He's a dilettante hunter. He's known to travel around the world. Likes to go off on adventures. Thinks he's an explorer, even though he isn't really exploring anything that hasn't been well explored by previous people. But he's someone who's absolutely taking advantage of the fact that that Britain as an empire is at the height of its power and controls more or less half the world.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
Have we heard any rumors of any occult or activities here, or psychics having been invited? It's all the rage, fortune tellers, palm readers, etc.
Oh yes. Spiritualism is all the rage at this point. I'm going to say that as far as you know, Hilbert doesn't normally go for all that poppycock, and you're probably the first paranormal investigators that have come out here. What you said you wanted to investigate the swing? What did you?
Yes.
So what do you want to do?
3.
Do we feel anything when we approach it? Any sort of presence? Any sensations? A change?
The one playbook we don't have is the psychic.
Yeah.
I was going to say you don't have a psychic. That's true. Yeah. You can still try to detect. It's just that the psychic gets the psychic gets more information than the rest of you, but you can still try to get information.
Well,
I mean,
first of all, what does the chain look like? Does it look like it broke clean? Does it look strange?
It looks like it. So it looks like. So looking at the broken chain, it looks like there's. It looks like one link has been like pulled apart, and that was
great strength.
Well, with strength. I mean.
Okay.
If you took a couple of pair of pliers, you could certainly grab either end, and it wouldn't be difficult to pull it apart. But it'd be hard to do with your bare hands. This isn't the kind of chain. This isn't like a boat's anchor, like a ship's anchor chain. It's it's a chain you'd say on a swing. Kind of medium grade. Are you going to attempt to invoke the supernatural to see if there's anything here, or you're going to stick to mundane for now?
I'd like to try to invoke the supernatural.
Okay.
What are you? All right with the group.
What are you?
Absolutely.
So I guess why don't we do this? Why don't we figure out what are you? So what are you as a group trying to glean here?
I was imagining it as seeing if there are like remnants. So like if there's something physical like ectoplasm or some kind of like lingering cold spot in the air or just anything to let us know if there was some kind of ghostly presence here.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. You can use your music to try to detect the presence or lingering presence of supernatural effects. Absolutely. Or so yeah, that's going to be, let me do this right. So when you face a supernatural, possible actions include sense the presence and location of the supernatural. So yeah, this is going to be a sense kind of thing.
How does this work? Do we all roll?
It's up to you. Basically, each of you who are using your enchanted musical instrument to try to do this, each of you who is participating in this will need to roll.
Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking, like, mechanically, because harmony is a thing, it seems like you want to be working together on as many rolls as possible.
Kind of seems to be that, yes.
Okay.
Because is there a drawback to trying to achieve harmony in case it doesn't work?
The drawback is when you are actually facing a supernatural entity, for every miss that you roll communally, there's a threshold. So if the threshold for a given creature is 5, for every 5 miss attempts against it, on that 5th miss, it's going to manifest and do something unpleasant toward you.
Interesting.
Okay. So we want to manage our rolls, not to roll too much.
Exactly.
So as not to stack up fails.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, now that's not to say that there may or may not be a spirit right here. So in this case, if there isn't a spirit, if there isn't a spirit, you're not. If there's no spirit presence, there's no threshold to hit.
And if there is a spirit present, but we're not targeting our actions against it, we're investigating, do those misses also then count on the stacking up against him?
Rules are unclear, but I'm going to say probably no if you're not doing something that's if you're not doing something that's like really bothering the spirit, it's probably mostly going to ignore you. I'm going to say usually.
Well,
So we're going to have
feel comfortable rolling. I'll take the risk.
Yeah.
Okay, so this game
not?
pretty much only has 12, so you want to roll and be in the range of your timber. So looks like Pelagia got a 10, and that's just outside her timber range.
I got a 5, which is inside of mine.
Oh, okay. So yours works. And first of all, are you joining this action, or are you going to take a wait and see approach?
I am. I'm trying to roll and nothing seems to happen. Maybe I'm doing something wrong.
Basically, grab the D12. That's the green one. Yeah.
I didn't choose the die.
Got it.
Okay.
There we go.
It's nice. My harmony range is 1, 2, 3. So
okay.
That doesn't hit it.
Okay. Gabriel, however, so I'm going to say that Pelagia is basically playing a. So I'm going to say you're playing a song of seeking. So you're all trying to play a song of seeking. This is a difficult song, and you're just kind of not in tune. You're just kind of like not in tune. However, Gabriel, you are able. You are able to. So normally some of this music sounds pretty cacophonous. I'm just thinking it's if we wanted to advance the clock,
I was thinking it probably sounds terrible.
Yeah, I was going to say it sounds somewhere between. Yeah. I mean,
we're all fighting for the melody.
I'm blanking on the name of this composer. Hold on a minute. I'm blanking on his name. Schoenberg. There we are. Yeah, it sounds somewhere between it sounds somewhere between it's somewhere between dissonance and like atonality. However, Gabriel, you are able to you hit like you hit one of those, you hit like a perfect two string chord, and when that happens, your violin has your violin manifests a magical effect. What does it look like when your violin manifests a magical effect?
Ooh, because it is like made from the bones of an aquatic animal. Even though I specified it as whale, I'm thinking that it does this kind of like visual sonar sort of thing. So there's this kind of wave that goes out from it and then bounces back.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you that's cool. I'm kind of envisioning the special effect from the viewers that the viewers at home see. It's kind of like this like wave of distortion that like goes out and then reflects back. Love it. So you can tell the spirit isn't here at the moment, but now that you've done this, you can now see, and you've caused you can now see sort of partially into the spirit realm, and your music has caused some of this spiritual residue to manifest, and the swing and especially the broken chain and cracked branch above is now now that it is manifest, you can all see it. It's like dripping with this yellowish goo, and you know what this is. This is ectoplasm. Now, this is how this is a substance that mostly only exists in the spirit realm, but spirits can manifest this ectoplasm, and that's how it can affect the physical world. Normally, you don't see it, but ectoplasm is something that kind of exists in both realms, and your music can cause that to manifest.
Can we tell how long it's been there?
It's there's not a lot of it, so there isn't. The fact that you're even, the groundskeeper said it was several days ago, which, given the condition of this ectoplasm that you're seeing, meshes with what he was saying. But yeah, whatever. But yeah, this was caused by some kind of supernatural entity.
I particularly want to hone in on the aspect of the story where Lady Hilbert heard words in a language she didn't understand. Since my focus is communication, could I attempt to listen for those words from a few days ago to be on some sort of recording that I could hear?
You're the medium. You can attempt to you're the medium. You can certainly attempt to you can try to, like pick that up. I mean, this is something that this is more of a psychic thing, but you can totally do it. I mean, a psychic would probably have an easier time at it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can you can try to you can try to regress and
Yes.
try to see what happened in the past.
Yes.
So that'll
back
be
those sound waves.
Yep. So that'll be a different melody that you'll need to play.
Okay. The melody of listen and remembrance, I guess. Oh.
And you got it.
I made it. Yeah.
Oh, you got it.
Oh, that's nice. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. What would the viewers at home be seeing as your what is this? What is the tune that you're playing on your enchanted French horn? Like, what does it sound like? And those people who are watching at home, what do they see?
Since it is a tune of listening to memories past, it sounds old-fashioned. The structure, it sounds like it's quite early music. And what they see from the French horn that has the clavicle embedded, since the clavicle is the beauty bone, a soft pink light is emanating from the bowl of the horn, and it's all of the surrounding area then becomes bathed in this soft pink light, which casts a beautiful glow over everything.
Okay, and in this beautiful glow, I mean, we can sense we can see like the passing of time, and what you're seeing is an image of the past. There's a matronly woman in like a formal dress who is sitting on this swing and is swinging, and she's kind of like looking up at the sky. But then you hear the sound of something weeping. It actually sounds like a man's voice crying, and you hear a few words, but it's say your focus. Your focus is communication, but I'm going to say that you're still a Victorian, and I'm going to say you don't understand the language either. But it sure sounds. But if you're going to hazard a guess, it certainly doesn't sound like any European language you've ever heard. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's not English, it's not French, it's not Russian, it's not German, it's not Spanish.
Does it sound modern, or does it sound like guttural?
It's not exactly guttural. It's a little. I mean, it's a little melodic, although you can tell the tone of voice is sorrowful. It may be it sounds like it may be some kind of a tribal, you've heard Chinese before. It's not Chinese. It's probably some kind of a tribal language, perhaps from India, perhaps from Africa.
Do the rest of us hear this as well?
I'm going to say no. It's just going to be Pelagia, because she's the one who's using her magical psychic medium powers to look into the past. And so you hear this, and you see the woman looking about, and the viewers at home kind of like see this, kind of like through a gauzy filter, and it's almost translucent, like she herself is the ghost. But you see just kind of like an outline of just kind of like a vaguely humanoid, ghostly form. It's almost like a shimmer, like the shimmer of the air behind a fire. It's almost like that, but it's like in a human form, and that's where the sound is coming from. And then at once it just kind of like bursts out in after it sobs and says a few words, it then just kind of like explodes in this like burst of like psychic violence. There's leaves that scatter. The swing shakes violently, and the branch shakes violently. The branch cracks. The chain snaps. The swing kind of like falls to one side, dumping the lady out of it. She falls on the ground, screams, picks herself up, and like runs into the house. And then the vision ends.
Did the force of the disruption seem targeted towards the lady, the tree, the general surroundings?
It seemed kind of hard to tell if it didn't seem to be particularly directed. It was just there. So I'm going to say like kind of like the general surroundings, but whatever it was Lady Hilbert who seems to have attracted it. I think we're going to close this scene here. I'm looking at the time. It's a few minutes past the hour. Why don't we take a 10-minute break? Let's come back at 13 past, and then we'll have a few more scenes and see where this game goes. I'm pausing now, and we're back. I think I'm going to just hard frame the next scene. You're in the house. You're sitting in, you're in a parlor, like a formal sitting room. You've each got a cup of tea, and Lord Hilbert is there and is continuing. Yes, and things have been. Oh yes, and things have been moving around, and we've been hearing strange noises. It's been upsetting to the staff. There's even been a broken mirror. That's 7 years bad luck, they say. But yes, whatever's going on, it's not normal. It's not normal indeed. There's some sort of supernatural hijinks going on, which is why my wife suggested I give you folks a call. I'm just going to say that off camera, he's described the kind of normal haunting stuff. People are hearing voices, people are hearing sounds, people are feeling cold spots, and every once in a while things get thrown around. So what do you think it might be?
Lord Hilbert, Stibbons mentioned that this all started after you returned from your safari. Did anything strange happen while you were in Africa?
Strange? Well, I mean, it was a glorious adventure, I'll have you know. Strange. Nothing supernatural. I mean, we had to deal with some brigands at one point. Our safari happened to blunder into some of the natives who seemed to be at war with one another until of course some good British soldiers came in to put that down. But nothing supernatural. What sort of strange things did you have in mind?
Lord Hilbert, did you hire a local guide? Did you personally have any interactions with any local people?
Well, interactions. Well, since you put it that way, yes, there was one time we were in a village. We were in Guinea, I think, perhaps 30, 40 miles inland. We'd taken a riverboat up. There'd been some flooding there. And it had the natives were complaining that there was a famine because the flood had destroyed some of their crops. So being the generous sort I was, I was talking to their I guess you'd call it a witch doctor. Told him I was wearing a rather elaborate mask, which I took a fancy to, and I suggested I'd be willing to give their village, because in my generosity, I'd be willing to give them a quite large sum for them to get more supplies in exchange for that mask that chap was wearing.
And did the witch doctor give you the mask, and did you pay the village?
I'm a man of honor, of course I did.
I am not questioning that. I am just trying to understand the sequence of events.
Yes, we gave them some of our supplies immediately, and I gave them supplies immediately. I wrote up a letter of credit that they could take to the colonial capital. Gave them immediate supplies. I mean, it's not like I was going around with bags and bags of gold. I mean, that would just be putting a target on my back now, wouldn't it? Even with all the guards I had with us.
Lord Hilbert, would you mind us taking a look at the mask that you acquired?
Oh, my! Of course, it's quite an interesting find. Yes. Well,
I dare say.
At that, he gets up and says, "Right, it's in the trophy room."
Lord Hilbert, did the witch doctor perhaps give you any history or even some superstition or myth around this mask? Perhaps you had a translator with you.
Oh, I did indeed. I did indeed have a translator with me. That chap did go off a bit. My translator mainly said that was just telling me like legends and stories. That's what he said. More legends, more stories, ancestors, animism, primitive religion, primitive tales that they tell each other. Whatever.
An ancient curse, perhaps. No, of course not. Nothing such as that.
Well, that's what I thought at the time. Perhaps I should have paid more attention. They said, they do say that, I mean, it's not like it was King Tut's tomb after all. Yeah, he's being oh so imperialist. So he leads you, he leads you down the hall, past the library, past a conservatory, which in other aspects of your life you might find rather interesting. A grand piano in there, but he does turn the corner, and there's you enter this large room. There's it's not as big as a grand dining table, but there's a large table with 8 chairs around it. There's some comfortable wingback leather chairs. There's a fire going in a grand fireplace. But the things that you checking my lines and veils here, just a moment. Okay. Mounted on the walls are the heads of many wild animals, mostly African, perhaps a few Indian. There's the head of a tiger. There's the head of a lion. The head of a bear. There's the head of several antelope. You notice there's a waste. You notice there's a there's a waste bin near the door that's made out of an elephant's foot. There are several large elephant tusks that are several ornate large firearms that are hanging on pegs. There's a zebra pelt hanging on the wall, and on another wall there's a large wooden mask. It's a West African tribal mask. It's made of dark wood. It is rather ornately carved. But yeah, it's big. It's maybe were you to wear it, it would extend like a good 3 or 4 inches off the side of your face, and it's tall. It extends would extend a good like foot above the top of your face. It's got large eye holes that are painted with that are painted accented white, and it's got its mouth is carved and painted in a grimace, with the teeth very detailed carved, and the teeth are also painted white. The wood is very, very dark reddish brown.
Can I use my occult knowledge to determine if I guess I mean, I imagine that it has some kind of I mean, just based on the conversations we've had so far, has some kind of religious significance. Can I see if I can identify it as the embodiment of a particular god or for a particular ritual or something like that?
Yes, absolutely. This isn't something you really need to use your instrument for. This is just this is just straight up knowledge. But you want to go ahead and you still want to make a roll and land it in your instrument's timbre. That seems to be the game mechanic. You're not actually you're recalling knowledge. You're not actually playing music here, but that is indeed the mechanic.
I did not succeed.
Okay. You only missed by 2, so that's okay. I'm just going to give you some kind of general. I'm going to give you some general information, which is you don't know what you've read about this sort of thing in general. It's been a while, and the book that you're recalling this from was not penned by someone who is extremely well versed, but there are many peoples in Hilbert mentioned Guinea. There are many peoples in West Africa that have animistic traditions where objects are imbued with spiritual significance and perhaps actual spirits. A mask like this is a ritual artifact and is likely to be imbued with some sort of spirit. Animism generally is connected to place. So taking a thing connected to place, taking a thing imbued with a spirit that's connected to a place out of its place could cause the embedded spirit distress.
So can we actually touch the mask? Does he take it off the wall? Does he allow us to take it off the wall and hold it? And
if you ask him, he pauses, but then says, "Well, you are the experts on this sort of thing. So yes, go at it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd appreciate you to keep it in one piece, though."
We will do our best. So I take it in my hands. I flip it over.
You can take it down. It was hanging on some hooks that were hanging on some hooks on the wall.
I even put it close to my face to peep through the eye holes. Do I sense anything? Can I try to get a sense of something? Just trying to sense here.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to tell you. I don't think we need a roll here. I think you can.
Okay.
I think I just feel. I mean, you're a paranormal expert. You can tell that this thing is special. This thing has some kind of connection to the supernatural, and you can just kind of tell because you're attuned to this sort of thing. If you want more specific information, I am going to call.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll try to. I'll flip out my instrument and try to play a song of.
What are you attempting to? What's your intent? Your song. What are you trying to do?
I would like to draw out the spirit that possibly lives inside this mask. Maybe I have the sense that it's hiding inside, and I would like to lure it out.
Okay, yeah. So you're trying
I
to.
Will play, go on.
Go on, Elizabeth.
Sorry, I want to interrupt because I would ask Percival before he starts playing that we excuse Lord Hilbert and give us the room and some privacy to learn more about the matter and hopefully bring these strange hauntings to an end.
Good thinking. You are the people person in the group.
we don't need any casualties or witnesses.
Oh, well, you're asking me to leave? Well, all right. Well, you don't want me to see the dirty work, do you? All right then. All right then. You have the room. And he walks out of the room and he closes the doors behind him.
Okay, so once we are alone, I set the mask on a table somewhere and try to play a sweet melody that would lure out a spirit might live in.
Okay, so you're trying to draw you're trying to draw the spirit out to like force it to manifest or something like that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
I would like to help with that, support that action, and if I could, since I did hear the words, maybe I could play a tune that seems familiar to the spirit.
Okay. So Percival and Pelagia are going to take out their instruments and begin playing. Gabriel, are you doing anything at this point?
I would like to assist as well.
Okay, sounds like everyone is playing, and with the intention to draw the spirit out of the mask. So yeah, why don't we have some rolls and see what happens?
Do we have a specific sequence of rolls, or do we just do it all at the same time?
I think Percival, you were taking the lead, so why don't you go first, and then why don't we have Pelagia and then Gabriel go, because you seem to be more or less. Sounds like you're letting Percival take the lead and you're supporting him. So why don't we do it in that role? Why don't we do it in that order?
Okay, I missed my mark completely.
Okay.
So instead of a sweet melody, it sounds really nasty.
Pelagia
hit the middle.
Pelagia hit, and it's also
Gabriel
a miss.
missed.
I'm playing a tune that transports us all to the savannah of West Africa.
Okay. So I think what's going to happen is, so Pelagia recalls, her medium experience, and got some insight into got some kind of like gut level instinct as to what this creature's culture was, and plays some music that kind of sort of is similar. I'm going to say there was probably a bit of lack of communication between you and your compatriots, because the other two were doing like more traditional, like we're gonna blast some dissonant tones to try to disrupt this thing. So they're really clashing. But it does. But what Pelagia is doing works. So as the three of you play, it's Pelagia's instrument that manifests the magic. And Elizabeth, what does it look like when your horn manifests magic, or at least in this particular instance?
Once again, there is that soft pink light cascading out of the mouth of the horn and bathing the room in this of pink that would calm the spirit and make the spirit feel that we're not here to harm him, we're not here to harm it, we're here to understand it and help it move on to a plane where it could be more comfortable.
So, kind of the same. This time, all of you see it. So the mask, Pelagia's horn is glowing, and the room is fused in this pink light. The mask vibrates, like physically vibrates, and like levitates off the table into a vertical position, and it's just kind of like floating there. And then kind of floats off the table, so it's next to the table. And then you see kind of like behind the mask, again, it's similar to what you'd seen earlier. It's this kind of like shimmering like humanoid shaped force or presence that is behind that is like physically behind the mask. And at this point, it looks like the creature, like whatever the spirit is, it's like looking through the eye holes of the mask, and it's like it looks at you and nods. It looks at you, Pelagia, and nods. Then it looks at the other two musicians, and it shakes its head.
It's the
One's a
academy all
critic.
over again.
Oh no.
Gabriel, what are you doing?
I probably stop playing at the admonition.
And Percival, what are you doing?
Oh yes, I stopped playing as well. I'm transformed to all my auditions at the academy, and I feel really bad about my performance.
Got it. And Pelagia, what are you going to do at this?
I hope to form a link between myself and the spirit to communicate with it.
Okay. We're not in harmony, but it seems to like it, so I think I'm going to let you roll with advantage here.
Okay.
So you're not really in harmony, but I think the fiction is saying that you're kind of complying with it, and it seems to like you. So go ahead and roll 2d12, and we can pick the result that you like.
Hopefully there is one I like. Oh, I like them both. It's meant to
Nice.
be. It is in harmony.
It is in harmony. The spirit. I'm going to say. So you're. I'm going to say at this point the spirit is definitely it's like looking to you. It's definitely calm, and it says words in its language, but you understand them now.
Okay, good.
And it says, where am I, and why am I so? This is not home. This is a bad place.
You are a noble spirit who has made a great sacrifice for your community. Your people were hungry, and in exchange for your passage to the strange island of England where you are, your people received supplies, food, medicine to carry them through for another season.
The spirit nods. I mean, or the shimmering, like the mask, which is again floating in air. It kind of nods, and the rest of the two of you hear the spirit speaking in a tribal language you don't understand. It responds, and Pelagia, you understand it. It says, can you bring me back home? That is the only place I will be. That is where I must be for my people.
We wish to give you rest. Perhaps if you'll allow my colleagues here to join me in playing, we can send your spirit back, but your physical manifestation of this mask would stay here. Is that a possibility?
I cannot exist outside of the mask. Well, I can, but not far. I must remain close to it. This mask must be returned to my people.
Gentlemen, what do you say? I believe we should return it to its home.
I would like to try, because my instrument's ability is exorcism, but instead of banish the spirit, I would like to untether it from the mask so it can be free and doesn't have to stay within the physical manifestation of it.
Yes, and return to the land of its comfort.
Yes, but I want to make it a friendly act of releasing it, not banishing it or destroying it.
Got it. Okay, sounds good.
Because I'm taking Pelagia's lead in this situation, and I'm seeing that she's found some common ground with the spirit.
I'm going to say that
I want to use that.
I got it. I'm going to I'm going to say let's go ahead and count that roll as in harmony as well. So go ahead and roll 2d12 and pick the result that you like.
Okay. Actually, it's my ability. My main ability as an exorcist already says that I can. The better.
So you can.
The better result.
So you can.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just closed the.
Oh, that's okay.
I got it. Nope. I won't have a success today.
Okay.
I'm still quite new at this, in my defense. Still getting the hang of my ocarina.
Yes.
A difficult instrument to play.
Yeah.
And you play it with so much feeling.
Once more with feeling.
Yes.
I was going to say this,
but it just doesn't work out.
I'm going to say that at that, it can tell that you're trying. The spirit can tell that you were trying to untether it from the mask, and it does not appreciate that. And
it feels like it's being forced.
It feels like it's being forced out, and I am going to say that it kind of like we're kind of going to do like a traditional like old school poltergeist thing where it reacts by basically throwing stuff around the room. It pulls a bunch of these, like a bunch of the knickknacks that were covering a bunch of knickknacks that were on the mantle and the table just get like thrown about the room. Like one of the elephant tusks pulled off the wall and like thuds onto the ground. And I'm going to say that engage the game mechanics here. I'm going to say that you get hit with a flying piece of you get hit with like a flying like ivory statue that like an African like statuette that was carved from ivory. Flies across the room and like smacks you hard in the shoulder, and I'm going to say mark an injury.
We're talking about Percival.
Yeah, that was Percival because it was he did not like your music.
Yeah. He sees me as a threat.
He sees you as a threat.
Okay.
What are the rest of you doing here? There's the spirits throwing stuff around the room. Gabriel.
I think we should try and calm it down.
I can try to stun it. That's another ability of my instrument.
I'd like to try to calm it again, but that's also go ahead and try to stun it.
No,
I've already connected to it. That's why I wanted to continue.
If I was just injured, maybe it shouldn't be my turn to act right now. So maybe Pelagia should try.
Let's let Gabriel try something.
Okay.
I was going to say my instruments thing is that I can suppress one of its effects if I play successfully. So
Sounds
try
good.
and get it to relax and stop throwing things at us while we at least have a dialogue. Unless I roll poorly, which is extremely likely to happen.
I was going to say you've only got the way this dice mechanic works, you only got a 25% chance of success here. So
I did not do the thing.
Okay, and I was going to say more discordant notes that do not please the spirit. I'm going to say a few things like fly in your direction, but nothing impacts you. Pelagia, what are you doing?
I'm going to, again, commune with the spirit, try to calm the spirit, and explain that we were, my colleague, fellow musician, was attempting an alternative method of freeing the spirit. Oh, I'm also going to ask for the spirit's name.
Okay, let's go ahead and roll first. I want to see what the disposition is.
Just one.
I'm going to say it still likes you, so go ahead and roll 2 dice and pick the better.
Neither one is good this time.
Neither one is good this time.
I went too far asking for its name. That's too familiar.
Yes.
Keep calling me sir.
So the mask is like shaking, and it flies toward Pelagia, and it's like shaking just a few inches from your nose, and the spirit says Mabwende and all of his ancestors demand that you return me to my homeland. I shall not rest until this happens.
I would like to your homeland. My colleagues, I hope, are in accordance, and we shall talk to Lord Hilbert. However, I'll let my colleagues speak for themselves.
I think we absolutely should return it. I'm uncertain why they parted with it in the first place. I mean, certainly they must have known that there was a spirit here.
And that is tied to their village and protecting the people who live there. Perhaps Lord Hilbert has not been completely. I've heard many stories of our aristocracy traveling to foreign lands and taking objects.
Maybe the transaction wasn't as clean as the Lord made us would have us believe. Maybe this is why the spirit has the attitude.
I agree with you. I'm sure it was beneficial for at least once.
So what are you telling the spirit?
I give you my word. I promise we will return you to the place of your ancestor.
At that, the vibrating stops. The things that were flying around the room like land. The mask floats back, and as it's floating back, you hear it say, "Well, I will accept that promise in good faith for now." It floats back and sets back down on the table, and the manifestation of the spirit just kind of like dissipates. It isn't there anymore. We are more or less at time. Is it okay if I kind of like narrate a quick epilogue and then we'll end the game? Okay. It takes a bit of convincing, but you're able to talk Lord Hilbert into letting you take the mask, because you know if you bring it back to the Hall of the Resident, they'll be able to they have, I don't know if they have offices all over the world, but they have resources, so they would be able to repatriate this mask, and you would trust them to do that.
If I may, I think we don't hesitate to resort to some threats that things will only escalate from now on if the mask isn't returned. So
That's right.
I think we scare him a little bit.
And
Okay.
We definitely make it clear that he needs to protect Lady Hilbert, who's already been a target of the mask's wrath.
It takes a bit of convincing, but you are able to talk Lord Hilbert into relinquishing this thing. And I think we're going to say that the three of you, it's evening now. The three of you climb back into the carriage. One of you is holding one of you with the mask like wrapped up in basically wrapped up in like a beige tarp. You climb into the carriage, and it's you climb into the carriage, and it heads on down the driveway. And as it as your carriage moves away from the camera, the audience at home hears Mabwende's sobs once more. End credits. Well, this is an interesting game. I really enjoyed it. Thank you all for playing. I'm going to end the recording here, and then we can take a few minutes to do a little debrief. But I prefer to do that off camera. So thanks, anyone who is listening to this. Thank you very much. This was Paranormal Minstrels on the Gauntlet. Yeah, thanks, folks.